We're here today at the Warsaw University of Technology, and I've bumped into Atta Harjanne, who's a member of the Finnish Greens and elected member of Parliament. We're here for the MIT and Clean Air Task Force nuclear short course, where we've been exploring the pros and cons of nuclear energy as part of a decarbonised energy mix. And obviously nuclear has featured a bit in our recent national elections, and a lot of Australians had questions about how nuclear would play a role in our decarbonisation efforts, and also Green members were concerned that nuclear might be a distraction or it might take too long, but they obviously are concerned about decarbonisation. So that's why I'm here to talk with Atta, who is is an advocate for nuclear energy and part of the Finnish Greens, who are the first Greens party in the world to support nuclear energy. So welcome, Atta.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you and the Finnish Greens support nuclear energy?
Well, it's been a gradual progress looking at policy program, and I would summarize this looking focusing on ends over means. So we want a deeply decarbonized economy, we want to protect nature, we want human well-being, and then you start to look at how to provide the energy needed for that with the least climate and environmental impact.
Yeah.
And yeah, as sustainable energy mix as possible. And then I think when you start to boil it down, at least in the Finnish context, that means combining sustainable renewables and nuclear.
So you use the term sustainable renewables. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think it's really important to understand that renewable is not a synonym for sustainable. So we know that, of course, all forms of energy production require land use, they require raw materials, so all this stuff. And especially in the Finnish context, most of our renewable energy is still wood biomass, and of course extracting biomass out of ecosystems has its harms to the environment. So I think it's very important to look at the sustainability aspect analytically and not just be locked to renewables as such.
Yeah, and so what benefits would nuclear bring to that energy mix?
Well, of course, it's very energy dense, so you need few raw materials compared to the energy output you got. Also, very limited land use compared to the energy output you got. Then you have the dispatchability, so the thing that it's not volatile in a way that wind or solar are. And I would also add that there's possibility to produce heat. I mean, nuclear energy produces heat, so we back in Finland, one of our challenges is actually heating our homes, especially in winters. So that's actually a thing that we're now looking at, perhaps providing that heat via nuclear power.
Yeah, and you can use that excess heat for industrial processes, and it sounds counterintuitive, but you can also use that heat to do district cooling, which is something I find very fascinating and is a little bit more technical than I know how to explain.
Yeah.
But one of the big questions on people's mind is that nuclear takes a long time to build. We've heard a little bit about that today, that there have been challenges in Western countries with timelines of projects blowing out. So how would nuclear fit with other clean energy projects in these crucial decades where we need to get to net zero to address climate change?
Obviously, we can do something about the project timelines, everything. I thoroughly believe that we can do cost-effective and quite fast scaling of nuclear power, but it's true, it's capital intensive and it's faster to build, say, windmill or solar panel, deploy that compared to a nuclear reactor. But I think what's very important to keep in mind is that our goal is deep decarbonization. We need to completely phase out fossil fuels and build an economy that runs without impact on climate or negative impact actually, or like we need to be sequestrating carbon, not adding it to the atmosphere.
Yes.
And then you start to you need to look at how to provide the energy needed for that with, as I said, as low environmental impact as possible. And I compared to actually building a rocket versus building an airplane. So we want to go to moon. You need a rocket for that.
Yes.
You can build an airplane and you get pretty fast out to the air, but you never get to moon with an airplane.
Never get all the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's kind of the way, the philosophy to think it that way. That yes, we can and should build renewables, scale them up fast as possible, but we should also have an idea, a plan, how to provide all the energy we need to run a sustainable, well-being society. And here you start to look at, okay, what about the volatility? What about the heat? What about whole energy, not just electricity we use today? So then when you do the math, it starts to look, at least in the Finnish perspective, that we do need nuclear in the Palais as well.
That sounds very sensible. One of the things that we've been hearing at the course here in Warsaw is that we need political stability to achieve these long-term infrastructure goals, whether that is wind and solar or nuclear energy. So how did the Greens in Finland help contribute to that multi-party approach and stability towards achieving net zero?
Well, I think what we've been focusing definitely on is championing pro-environmental policies in general. So we need to prioritize climate and nature in our policymaking and understand that they are, I mean, we have to take care of them or have got nothing in the long run. And then the other would be to do a science-based policy as possible, because if you base your policies on science, then also you can also expect certain continuity within it. There's there's a logic behind it. So I think that these are the drivers, and this being the drivers also that explain why Greens have the stance they do. But I do think that in a way we also acted as a change agent when this discussion ignited in the Greens and we started progressing to a more neutral pro stance towards nuclear. That actually opened the eyes in other parties as well, that okay, this is not the issue where you just for political purposes need to be in certain direction or take a certain stance, but you can actually analytically think that what's best for the future and then start to look at shape out an energy policy.
Yeah, that sounds very rational. And in Australia, we've got a conservative government which is somewhat anti-renewables but is pro-nuclear. We've got a centre-left Labor government that is very pro-renewables but also backing that in with fossil fuels. And the Greens want ambition to push both those parties, but we're missing that key piece with nuclear. So do you think if the Australian Greens were to adopt a more pragmatic, science-based approach when it comes to nuclear and energy policy, that we could help drive that bipartisanship and that long-term thinking?
Well, I don't want to lecture how you should do it in a way, but I do think that having a solid analysis behind your policies helps in argumenting them. And I do overall think that whatever ways we can use to kind of decrease polarization around such a crucial thing as energy and climate are, the better. So in a way, that's would be my kind of hint would be analytically kind of think what's the actual position, how to build a sustainable future, and what type of energy portfolio would that need, and then argue for that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, and go green, and let's hope that we continue to move towards a more sustainable world which includes all clean energy on the table.
Thanks.
Thanks.